Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. As you can see, I'm donning the Buffalo Soldier uniform today. There's going to be all sorts of activities next week on Veterans Day. All kinds of things will happen today. But I thought it was very, very important that we talk a little bit more about just the commercial festivities aspect of it and bring a little history to the table aspect of it. So we're going to do that within this hour. And then we're going to do that on the first part of the hour, talk about activities and defining what Veterans Day, if you will, or Veterans Day is all about. And then the second half hour, we're going to talk about some local politics, bring that up to the table. And you'll like that part too, because I think that's very important that we make sure we bring current event to the, and it's all relative for that matter. And then maybe what we'll do also too is that there's a local event that's happening here. In fact, it's happening today, and we've had this person on before, and the relevancy there. I'm talking about Cynthia Harris. She was former principal of Jefferson High School. In fact, she was an assistant superintendent of Portland Public School. She was doing an excellent job at Jefferson High School, and then all of a sudden, she was thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
But they won 2 championships. They won the basketball for the girls and the men.
And the boys,
the boys.
Well
and she was doing all kinds of things. We even had her here on the show, and it was a diverse kind of an environment. But the bottom line, she did an excellent job. And so what we're going to do, we're going to give her a couple minutes and so she can go on, because she got work to do right now anyway. But we're going to give her a couple minutes or so.
You're going to do it now?
Yeah, we're going to promote it real quick.
Okay,
This is who she is. Bring the Love Musicfest, November 5th, 2017, at the Old Church, 1422 Southwest 11th Avenue, Portland, 6 p.m. Today. Okay,
yes.
Good.
It's at 6 p.m. today.
What does it mean? What are you going to do?
So I just want to say I've been doing this since 1994, and this is actually my last one.
Okay.
And we always raise corporate dollars and donations and give it to nonprofits. As you know, we are giving it to Leave No Veteran Behind, Passing Art, a theater company, and Larry Quick, who has a Russian youth program. He's been to Russia, and he does this art, and he wants to go into some of our schools. The other thing we do is we highlight people in the community. We honor them. Like today, it'll be Bill Russell from the Mission and Tamara Walker. And then we have something called the Game Changer Award, which we have Dana Jackson and Helen Healy and the Green family. The Green family, I especially like what they're doing. They're building a school in Africa, and they have a daughter that will speak today. And she's going to speak about Do You See Me? She's an African-American growing up in Portland, and she has a point of view. And I think her work is just really outstanding. So today we have... thank you so much, band. We have Patrick Lamb for sure.
Patrick Lamb. We have Patrick Lamb.
Yeah, Patrick
has
been.
Awesome.
He's been really, really showing his heart.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people get involved. They say they want to come, and they may or may not. But we have the Delphi School out of Sheridan coming, and we have an African gospel group called Sarie, I think is the name of they call. And so it's going to be networking. We have Terrell's Barbecue today.
Okay.
And we have about 12 vendors. So we're excited, and we hope the people in the community will come out. It is free. It is at the Old Church. I love it is free. There's no cost. There's absolutely no cost. You just need to come.
At the door.
They can contribute at the door. We'll also have a give, and it's all about youth. And it's really about youth. Sometimes I think the people think it's about them, but it really isn't. It's about really lifting up our young people and really inspiring them. And I hope they will become inspired and mixing with some of the superstars that will be there. So it's going to be great. And whoever shows up. I say all the time, no excuses. If you don't come, you just don't come. Don't even try to give me an excuse, because it's not like that.
Sounds good.
So this is the best one that I've done. I've received so much interest and so much contact about this one. So this is absolutely the best.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm sure you're going to give us a little time to at least show the uniform.
I was thinking that would be really great if you, and I was thinking that when we do the give, you could come up and help me, and then you could talk a little bit about it.
I'd be more than glad to do
talk
that.
about what you're doing, because I think a lot of people were very inspired when I showed them that you're one of the nonprofits.
Yeah.
We're going to give our gifts away February the 27th at the the Jam, this little restaurant that they have here on Martin Luther King. So it'll be a while. We're going to be raising money for a few months for these
good.
nonprofits.
Well, I'm more interested in what you're doing as opposed to the money. That's not where my.
I want the money.
I know that, but you can do that. You can do that, but it's very important that we.
Well, I just really love to inspire and motivate people. I think that means really a whole lot if you can be inspired.
Thank you very much. I will be there.
Okay.
I will be there. These guys may come too. You never know. Okay.
You know what? I think I'll come.
Depending on time. Okay.
Bring some of your books. Probably sell them.
Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you.
Good luck now. Okay, you can just walk out there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
Nice
it.
meeting you.
All right now. Sounds good. Sounds great. Okay. We're just going to go in deep right on into the show here. Like I said before, we're going to talk a little bit about Veterans Day and the various activities and whatever. And I'll throw out some of the things that I might, from a historical standpoint, when you think about Veterans Day, we might have had there were the Revolutionary War, right? We had the Revolutionary War, and then veterans were involved during that particular process. Right. And then we had the Civil War, and that was very much interesting. And then I'm donning this uniform, and the reason why I'm donning the uniform is that African Americans, the slaves, if you was supposed to have been a war on slaves, but there's a lot of other history things were happening. Sure. Some of that was economics and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, blacks participated in that Civil War, and they participated because Abraham Lincoln, who was the president at that point in time, said, yes, we're going to do this. And that was and Frederick Douglass, if you will, was the one that lobbied. He was an African-American kind of like guy, and he basically lobbied Lincoln about a routine, but all of a sudden, Lincoln got him involved in the war aspect of it, because it was kind of like at the end of the war, and he was about ready to, somebody was losing, and so Lincoln got smarter, and he basically recruited a lot of these guys to come on in there, about 350,000 or better, and the next thing you know, a lot of folks don't realize that's history, and a lot of folks don't know that on the Confederacy side, they say, well, gee whiz, let's see if we can get some too. So they came in and tried to get them too, and they donned uniform too. They had the Confederacy gray uniform aspect of it, and people don't know that. And the other thing people don't realize is that we hear about Buffalo Soldiers today. They weren't just African Americans because the officers were white, and so realistically, the Buffalo Soldiers were white also too. We don't say that much about it. This is not just a black organization. Right. This is a historical piece, part of this country, and it's very important to educate us, because we're having these divide things that we're having right now as far as assimilation, and it's like anything else. If folks can kind of get a sense that you contribute, look like for some strange reason all of a sudden things change. So that's another reason why I'm donning the uniform aspect of it. And I've got James Buchael here, who happens to be the president of Multnomah County Republican Party. Lincoln was a Republican aspect of it, and the whole issue at one point in time, it was like the Republicans were the one that was basically trying to resolve this whole assimilation, if you will, as far as the slaves were concerned, aspect of it. But for some strange reason, it changed. I mean, a lot of folks don't realize that when there was that divide during that particular time, when the Congress. They left and went over on the other side, and basically there were blacks in the Congress during that particular time. That history is there.
Yes.
Reconstruction, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, he's here, and I just wanted to kind of make sure that he was part of the process. You know it. And then I've got you, Ovie. Well, yeah, that Muntean, right? Muntean. I just kind of, almost sounds like Broussard. People get my names confused also too.
Sorry.
But anyway,
think of a mountain.
That's right. I got Ovie here, and the rationale there. You've seen him on my show because I interviewed Ovie, and he'd written a book, and this was a book by his dad, and he helped him put that piece together. It's a heck of a story. So I would suggest that if you really want to get the whole scoop about this book, one, you can Google it, but most now you can go back in history here on the Oregon Voters Digest, and you can look at the interview. Yes. It was an awesome interview. But again, he represents the freedom, and when he talks about freedom and the patriotism and whatever, it was kind of like the ultra conservative. Well, no, that's really what America was all about in those early days. And so it's as if what is he doing? He's too conservative and this, that. No, he in fact, he speaks more about what this country is about today than a lot of folks that are here. See, so we got to get that back on the table. So that's one of the reasons why I have Ovie here. Okay.
Thank you.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about that part. I think I mentioned Frederick Douglass. We talked about a little bit about that. We talked about the number of folks. We talked about the Buffalo Soldiers. I happen to be a lifetime member of the Buffalo Soldiers. There's a local chapter of the Buffalo Soldiers here in Portland. And I used to be president of that organization. Right now, they're doing their thing, which is good. And they're always looking for recruits. You got me? I'm also a lifetime member of VFW, Veterans of Foreign War.
Yes.
I'm very much involved in that deal, and I'm kind of like reaching out and helping vets and all that thing. Got that part.
And no veteran left behind.
And no veterans left behind. And in fact, Ovie's got an organization that he's associated with. I had him on. In fact, that's how I met him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And basically providing animals, dogs, if you will, guide dogs. Service dogs. That's what he does. And that's kind of that's another neat thing. So patriotic. You guys, something else. Awesome. So, I mean, I just want to make sure we put that out there, aspect of it. But there's all sorts of activities here locally. There's going to be the parade. There's going to be a parade up here in Southeast Portland, always. Yes. I'm going to be donning another uniform because I'm going to be giving out poppies. And I'll be running on the side of the van that we have and just doing that deal. And that's kind of a neat kind of a deal. And I would suggest that everybody get involved. And the other thing about our area during this particular time, folks are doing all kinds of things, reaching out to vets. You can go out of the restaurants and whatever, they'll give you free food. You can do like Denny's and other like that, and all kinds of goodies. They'll give you a free lunch, free dinner. Some of them even given I think bread and breakfast and stuff. They're doing all kinds of stuff for vets.
Yes.
And so it'd be neat to participate, but it's more than just a commercial time. Take the time to understand why we do Veterans Day.
Yes.
And we're reaching out. We got the VA. I mean, doing all kinds of benefits and this, that, and the other. And but learn a little bit more about what this is all about. This wasn't just about war and everybody just shooting people away and whatever, but spend some time aspect along that particular line. So I just want you to understand that. And I'm going to have these guys now chat a little bit and what they feel about the whole issue of Veterans Day and any input. James, I'll let you go first. You're Lincoln. You're Lincoln. So whatever you want to say in regards to Veterans Day, lay it out. Okay? Go on, bud.
Well, Veterans Day, we had at least a very special country, and we had very special values that were unique in the world. It was the first time that somebody sat down and said, people are born with inalienable rights, and we fought a lot of wars to protect that system, that idea, and it's great that we honor the people who sacrificed so much. And the great tragedy is, what happened? Mm-hmm. How has it happened that these great virtues, patriotism and all, are now being vilified? Mm-hmm. I have gotten postcards in the mail. Don't confuse your patriotism with racism. Or this is all just white supremacy, and so forth and so on. And I'm almost sorry your other guest left, because as the principal of a Portland school, I'd like to ask her essentially what the hell is going on in there, that we have these young people, half of them now say they want to live under socialism. Mm-hmm. What the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm. 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 No, you make a good point. And in fact, it's interesting, when I had her on when she was fighting for her life, if you will, again, talking about the country and history and whatever, and then all of a sudden they threw her under the bus. She was really...
But we have to focus on who they is,
Yes,
It seems I'm
right.
becoming more and more convinced there's an enemy out there, and it's an enemy within.
Yeah.
And the veteran, it's great that we have people, trying to expand freedom and free enterprise and American values around the world, but we've let things rot at home. We got to get back from these foreign wars and fight the domestic one and get things straightened out here.
Yeah, well, this is a good book to read when it comes to socialism. I wanted to say that my father's story was written by Josephine Walker, and it is about socialism, life in socialism, and what it was like. And I believe that all the protests and all the young men and women that are out there destroying property and so forth, demanding socialism and communism, they have no idea that if they do get that government, they will not be able to protest again. They'll be thrown in prison, they'll be punished severely, they'll be beaten, they'll be in prison for a long time. So they don't even know what they are asking for because they're not educated. And so this book, written by Josephine Walker, the true story of my father's life and how we came out of communism, should be in schools. available to high schoolers to read, to realize what life is like under a socialism government.
Well, you know, the other thing about Ovie, and we shared that on the other show for many aspects of it, was that as I read the book and got into the book aspect of it, there was a process. I mean, in terms of why the United States, if you will. There were a number of states after it was united, and meaning that he was from another country and they had another flag, if you will. But the idea there was one flag here, the United States, the flag of America.
Yes.
And then he basically didn't forget this flag, but the fact that was the United States. And then they went through a process of educating him as to what that rationale was. And so you ask yourself the question behind being a citizenship, which we don't get in the classrooms anymore. We don't get the classroom of what Abraham Lincoln was all about. We don't get in the classroom what the Revolutionary War was all about. To educate people. So then when they come up to, and you see the Statue of Liberty out in New York, in that arena, then it's kind of like, okay, fine, you check in, they vet you, this, that, and the other, and they take you through this process you have to go through to learn this language, English. It's not about anti-one's English. It's just the fact we got so many various other cultures here. There's one English, so we can at least communicate with one another. It was called English. But you learn that in terms of the process of being certified, right?
Not anymore. You can get citizenship without speaking English.
Oh
now.
my God!
It's ridiculous.
In fact, share some of those areas because you see it all the time. I mean, you get it all the time where you are, basically.
Well, no, I think that we've totally abandoned the idea of assimilating people to the American way. We've had these, I call them communists, take over the educational system years ago and teach that all cultures are the same and ours isn't any better than any other one, and so we shouldn't be trying to assimilate people at all. You know, everybody should just be off doing their thing, and it's just sort of a complete collapse of not just patriotism but fundamental moral values as well.
Very well said.
Yeah, and what's distressing to me is how do you the great question we face as a political party, how do you get people off their butts and straighten this situation out? And I especially look to the immigrant community. You know, you guys, I say you guys.
That's okay.
The Russian community in Portland. There's all these communities in Portland that know very well what is happening here. The Vietnamese, the Romanians, the Russians, Eastern Europe. They know what's going on here, and they can see it, and they talk privately about it. Great fractions of them don't vote. Great fractions of them, none of them are involved actively in the party that I know of. And yet, everybody seems to be just happy to let it go down the drain.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not happy, and and I got to tell you that I've been speaking against what's happening for a long time. At times I've been politically incorrect, but this is hope. This book will bring hope to the American people because they will realize that we, the foreigners, we're the people that came from other nations here. At least some of us, we believe in the United States of America. We believe in freedom. We believe in free enterprise. We believe in the Constitution and upholding the Constitution and fighting for freedom, continuing to fight for freedom. My father went on a hunger strike for 27 days, and he declared that he's willing to die rather than live in communism. He's willing to die to set his family free. And by doing so, he opened the door to the Romanians that want to leave out of Romania and to come to the free world. I do everything I can and go anywhere I'm welcome to go to speak and to convince people and to inspire people that this is the greatest nation in the world. This is the United States of America, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and freedom for all. And justice for all, I should say, the land of the free, the home of the brave. And this subject to me is very personal and emotional because I see the dangers you're talking about, and I'm really pleasantly surprised to hear that Americans are seeing what's happening to our nation, and we should do everything we can. I say it a lot, but I do believe it is the majority that have been silent for a long time. My best friend says that silence is agreement, but in this case, silence of the majority of conservative people that haven't been speaking up for 2-3 decades, they were not agreeing with the liberal far left. They were just respectful enough not to jump in and argue their point, but I do believe that they have woken up now. We have a president that stands for freedom, stands for the Constitution, stands for conservative values, and I think all of us should be empowered and encouraged to speak what's on our minds and our hearts, to speak the good things that the United States has to offer to the world.
Well, let me ask a question real quick for both of you, man. Is that the point is that when one defines a conservative and one that's not, a lot of times the person who's identified as conservative is supposed to know basically what this country is about. You know what I'm saying? The criteria. And then the other side, sort of like, they don't know. Yeah, am I on the right track there, James?
Well, it's not just that they don't know; it's that their head is full of a big pile of crap that's completely wrong.
Okay.
I got it.
So how?
I finally meet an American that speaks my language.
Yes, but how do we get that much back to the table?
First, we have to go back and take over the schools again.
Yes.
One of my problems as a Republican Party leader is where do we find people who are willing to run for the school board and run for because when we don't show up, the enemy is out there making strides every day. You know, that's the old saying, you know, all that's necessary for evil to triumph is good men to do nothing.
Yes.
And it's not just speaking, it's all about replacing bad, corrupt officials.
Right.
Yes.
We have an epidemic of corrupt officials in Oregon, and it's gotten to the point now where it's like a third world country. It's like, you know, we pave a bridge and it can't be fixed for months and months. You know, why? Who knows? Does anyone lose their job? Who knows? You know, we can't build a bridge. We can spend $500 million lining the pocket of every, you know, left-wing grifter in town with bridge design and website design, and nobody goes to jail. No accountability.
Yes.
It's people ought to be pissed about it.
And if you read my father's book, you'll realize that bribery and corruption are the number one tool of dictatorship governments. And that's how they control the masses. And, you know, I'm surprised to hear that you recognize that liberals function on bribery, function on corruption. I mean, look what's happening. It's just coming out right now, right?
Well, tell me, Ovie. Well, tell me this then. In the Romanian community we have in this country, is there a group, still a group within the Romanian community that's over here doing the same thing?
Well, you know,
Are you understand what I'm saying?
those who came from Romania are afraid of the government. Whether it's a free enterprise government, they still believe and they have that inner fear that the government is watching them at all times. And they're afraid to speak against the government, most of them. They speak in their circles, they give their opinion to their families and friends, but to come on live TV and speak against the things that they don't like about the government, they're hesitant.
It's not just the Romanians. We suffer from a terror. It's a collapse of courage. You know, America has lost its courage. You know, you remember Alexander Solzhenitsyn? He came here in the 70s and he said, "What's the greatest thing I notice about America? It's like there's no courage anymore."
Right.
And that's what we need. We need to encourage people. We need to encourage the Romanian community and every other community to get out there.
I agree.
And they're right. The government is watching them, and they're right that things could happen to them. But worse things are going to happen if they just sit there.
Absolutely, and I agree with that so much. Thank you for saying that.
Well, you know, again, the same thing. Here I go again. I'm donning the uniform for a purpose, and I happen to be, quote, a culture associated with a culture. But in all due respect, the assimilation is that I still want to assimilate just to be an American, you know, at some point, because we were that way when the revolution. But every time you start talking about, let's get this out of the way, and let's get this assimilation thing so it's done, and we don't have to worry about putting race. Because sometimes if you get to talking to these kinds of issues, the race issue comes up, and they put someone in there, and then all of a sudden it gets used. And I'm almost jumping right into the situation that we're faced with right now between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, because you got CNN. We still got the debate. We still got the presidential debate. We got the president, which is sad. The president of the United States representing this side, and CNN representing the Democratic side. That's basically where we are right now. You got me?
Yeah.
And it's just on and on and on.
Yeah.
And he's debating and they're debating. And he's just kind of like saying, well, I know I got corruption in my group, so I'm just going to tweet. I'll go to these meetings. I'll hear something when I get out.
It's so tragic. I mean, here you have the President of the United States putting out tweets about, why isn't anyone prosecuting Hillary? And you just want to grab them by the neck and say, well, you have an attorney general that you appointed. Yeah. He works for you. Right. The reason we elected you is because you could look at people and say, you're fired.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
But he was part of that culture, though. Unfortunately, he was at one point in time part of the senatorial culture. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody's making deals among themselves. There's no term limits, right? That's another big issue. We need to get to the table, term limits. And so these guys, in all due respect, you can't, it's kind of like saying, you can't blame them because they've been doing this on and on and on and on, and they're not going to have no term limit. So now some of them are saying, well, look, okay, I'll go with term limit, but let me at least get my monies out, and I don't have to go to jail, see, because it's kind of like retroactive.
Yeah, they're
if you do
protecting
get out,
each
they're
other.
protecting one another, see?
Yes, they are. They have no choice.
And so all of a sudden jumps up, what happens is that, in all due respect, you see a lot of, you think the Democrats are kind of like saying, okay, fine, we're going to really get to give the blacks the opportunity to be a part of the system. And you see all kinds of blacks involved in the Democratic Party. Just totally Democratic aspect of it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden one day, up jump, whatever, you get this young lady that gets to be the chairman, the black to be chairman. She walks in there and she said, hey, I'm the CEO. And then all of a sudden, no, you're not the CEO. You do it this way. And say, wait a minute. And but guess what, though? She looks at the other side. She's been there 30 years. I'm talking about Donna Brazil.
Yes.
And she's been there 30 years. And she said, well, wait a minute. This is the process. Well, I'm just going to go on and just do my job. And said, what's going on here? But then there's another process, in all due respect, just so happened to be Hillary Clinton, if you will. And Hillary's just out there making a buck, if she will. And she says, well, let me write a book. And she made another book, if you will. And she's still countering, if you will, some of the vetting that should be done. It's as if to say, if they would go on and vet that at the same time, they should do that before one even gets the application. So this is the criteria. You're going to be running for office, and we're going to be looking at this, that, and the other. Sign this paper that you don't have no conflict, or something to that effect. But that's not the way it works.
No, the scum rises to the top, unfortunately.
See,
That's very well said. Yes.
and in many ways you can't talk about it, and I talk
We're
about
talking
it.
about it.
We're talking about it, and I feel very comfortable. You know what I mean? Because I tell you, I'm drawing in this uniform. This is not Halloween.
Yes. That's
this
the
is real
beauty of
world.
freedom that we have here. We can get together, black, white, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're Americans. We love America. We love the freedom that we have here, and we should talk about what we like, what we don't like, without fear of government retribution. You see, where I come from in a communist country, by the time we walk out of here, all of us would be arrested, all of us beaten up, all of us worked against each other, judged, found guilty, and sentenced by tonight, and you're on your way to prison for 5 years or 20 years, depending what they decide, right?
Well, what I'm getting from James is that's what's happening right now. We're already arrested. We can't do nothing. We may look like we're doing it, but we're going in the direction that we're having some major problems.
Well,
I
I understand what you're saying.
It's not that bad yet.
No, not
it's
that
not
bad.
that bad.
No.
And it won't get there.
Well, we may get there or we may not. I mean, there's a very sophisticated mechanism of social control, and the media control is very, very strong, and opposing points of view are completely censored out of it, and so it helps keep the American people ignorant. And as long as the broadcasting is still keeping the American people ignorant, a few people like us are not important enough to throw in jail.
Yeah, but I want to say that even the ignorant people have freedom in their heart, and they desire. They might not know that by the direction they're going and what they're requesting or demanding of the government to give them, they might not know that they're demanding the wrong thing, but freedom is in their heart. And as soon as they lose that, they'll realize what they lost. It might be not too late to fight, but too late not to lose lives and blood to be shed for it. But there's people like us that can go around and speak about the freedom that's at stake. You have served. Thank you for your service. I have 2 children that are currently active duty, serving, a Marine son and an Air Force airman daughter. Family friends that have children actively serving. So, they believe in this freedom that we have. They fight for it. So they're going to come out and they are going to be the ones, the next generation. They're going to lead the next generation and in a direction that this country should have stayed from the beginning. And they uphold the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and they know the history of the United States.
Strange things are happening to the armed forces, though. Did you hear about that case of that cadet at West Point, who he's posing with these pictures, you know, about how great communism is, and then it turns out that there's a professor there who's been, you know, who's been sort of, you know, fostering all these communist officers, and then you look back and somehow 10 or 15 years ago, Clinton changed it so that these professors suddenly are no longer former soldiers. They're these people who come from where? You know, the rot is very, very deep. And people don't understand how deep the rot is.
Yes, that only motivates me to be more active and to be more passionate and to go out there and talk to anybody and everybody to inspire them and to motivate them to hold on to the freedom they have.
Well, you know, I brought up this Donna deal because, in all due respect, I think it's kind of a unique deal that, you know, that all of a sudden she's the CEO and she's black. Okay, and so black has always been on the table about race aspect. Right. It's going to be interesting to see how the entity that's identified as being the pro person for black folks, blah 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 routine, how they're going to react to her. She's not letting down. And in fact, I got a couple of notes here. I looked at all of the so-called communication media today in regards to how they handle this piece. Well, gee whiz, look like we're going to take a short break because I'm going to really get into something. You guys are going to get really excited.
All right.
We're going to take a short break and be right back, folks. Okay?
Thank you.
Folks, I tell you what, we've got so much to say, and I got to remind you that this is Veteran Week that's getting ready to come on. There's going to be all sorts of activities, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to announce additional places to go and opportunities to go and reach out and get involved and understand what that history is all about. And but at the end of the day, between now and then, we're just going to continue on where we sort of left when we took the break. We were talking about the whole idea that the Democratic Party brought up the issue. That, as far as I'm concerned, is kind of like part of the solution, because we had a chair. Her name was Donna Brazil. Brazil, I think. Brazil, right? Donna Brazil. She was the chairman of the Democratic Party when Clinton was running, and all of a sudden things started happening with the hacking, and because that hacking piece that's been going on forever and ever and ever.
Right.
But all of a sudden it was that people started finger pointing one another on both sides of the aisle. And it just so happened one had more of a momentum because, like saying in so many words, if you want to, they're running for the next presidency. One group is running for the next presidency, and one's already into the presidency aspect of it. So now they're trying to figure, well, let's do it right now. Well, the whole idea was that when you run for it after at least respect what you got there, right? Yeah. But anyway, long and short of all this, Donna, on this piece here, she was a chairperson, and all of a sudden she was thrown under the bus. She was just thrown out of the deal aspect of it, and there she was. Her life was nothing. I mean, she couldn't do nothing. She couldn't go anywhere and whatever. She spent some 30 years in the Democratic Party, fighting for the Democratic Party aspect of it, even fighting with that, thinking about this history of this uniform.
She finally woke up.
She woke up.
She woke up.
And she understood the system. She wrote a book. She wrote a book. You know, she sat down in the woods somewhere and she basically wrote that book. And I understand where she's come from because I was born and raised in Louisiana. And we know about that hot sauce, see what I'm saying? And she wrote that book. But anyway, she's not, it's out there. The book's going to be out, I think it's on the 7th. They're going to open, I mean, one's going to be able to go out and buy this book, and everybody's basically saying, I'm going to buy a copy of that book, and we'll probably have another show on this book once I see it, because I'm going to read the book aspect. But I was looking at some of the shows today, that they covered the story today, aspect of it. And you had a block of shows. And I went down and I just kind of made some notes, and you guys can kind of just jump on in there. When I looked at the Meet the Press, I noticed that Eugene Robinson, who was an African American that was there, boy, he was on the fence big time.
He's a big leftist.
He didn't know what to do. But at the same time, he had a lot of pressure coming on him for the blacks that were there. He wished like he wasn't there and someone else was there.
Yes.
In fact, he was the way he was acting as if he didn't even want to be asked the question. And it's interesting, the moderator, and they had all these other folks that were there. He was the first person out of the stop that was asked the question. As if to say, why didn't they ask? He was saying, why didn't you ask somebody else the question? He said, no, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
You're here to do what you're told, basically. That was Meet the Press. I thought that was interesting. Face the Nation had no position. They had no position on the issue. That's what. Now this is just me, and then this impact. There was an impact on the gubernatorial election in Virginia. That was huge too.
Yeah, Gillespie's up by 3 points.
He's up by 3 points now because they were already running ads, if you will. In all due respect, Mexican American were running ads about a truck showing, i.e., quote, driving a truck ready to hang. You know, but the implication about the racism aspect. Of it. But guess what?
Well, that's been the Democrats' song for so long. They've beaten it, and it's like a dead horse, and it's a great tragedy that the black community just keeps falling for it over and over and over again. In the meantime, the schools are falling apart, the communities are falling apart, and the Democrats aren't doing squat for them. And,
but this was a Hispanic piece, the Mexican piece. You know what I'm saying? So when you say race, automatically it's black.
Right.
Well, guess what? They couldn't run to the black this time. You had just
they had all races. I think they had all races in the ad. They had a little Mexican kid, a Muslim girl.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
They had this white guy trying to run over all these children. Yeah. That was
okay. Yeah. But guess what? It's not playing. Donna's there. See, Donna says, I'm not in there. Donna says, no, I'm not in there. So they had to yank that ad, see? But anyway, that was Face the Nation. This week, George Stephanopoulos was the only one that gave her the opportunity to speak.
Yes.
She spoke. You saw that, right?
Yes.
She spoke big time.
Yes,
you need to check that out. I even got it on my Facebook page. She spoke. And then there was the other one. I'm thinking about the other person that I was interested. Was it 2-5? Was it? Who am I thinking about? Not Donna. What's the other one that's really heavy on the other side? I'm thinking. Gee, I had her name just right up there, right off the bat.
Do you think she really didn't realize for so many years that she was sort of working for a criminal gang?
No.
You really think she didn't? She didn't understand
the key is you got the thing. Other thing you got to remember that you still got to eat, right? You got to eat, and then you just go along.
That's what I want. I mean, do you really think that she was sort of blind to it, and then suddenly woke up, or?
No, she wasn't blind. She knew it was happening, but she couldn't do anything about it. You know, I'm eating and.
Well, is it because she got scared? I mean, one of the most interesting things that she says in the book apparently is that when Seth Rich got murdered, she began to be scared for herself. You know, and I think to myself, is that what it took to wake her up? I'm wondering, you know.
Well, it would have been okay.
You're right.
It would have been okay if she wasn't the CEO. See, she had access to the books.
Yes.
And when she pulled out when she was going through the books, and they said, well, she's getting ready, she's running CEO. She said, well, gee whiz, I'm going to put some money in the campaign over here. I'm going to do this over here. and then someone said, hey, wait a minute. No. Brooklyn called up and said, Brooklyn, Hillary Clinton called up there. No, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? I am the CEO.
Yeah.
See, I am the CEO. And they said, no, you can't do it. And we could give a darn.
Yeah, I'm really glad that she's coming out and she wrote the book. I would like to ask her a question. How did she get the questions to provide to Hillary Clinton on the first debate with Donald Trump?
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
but I'm saying,
Just asking.
but understand this now. That's been going on forever
Right.
on both
But
sides.
if it was the other way around, there would have been a
not on both
big...
sides. I don't think it's been
No,
going
no,
on
but
both
some-
sides.
but I'm just saying, my point
CBS
is-
isn't going to help the Republicans.
No, and vice versa. I'm just saying
Right,
that's the point I'm trying to make. You
Yes,
see what I'm saying?
yes.
But my point is that everybody's trying to take advantage during those early days because you ask yourself the question, how is it? There was about 15 people that were running for president on the other side.
Yeah.
15
17,
people,
yeah.
and here's a guy that has never even served a public job like dog catcher, and he gets at the front of the deal. You got all these pros running around here, and they can't win. They couldn't even. What's going on? And he gets up there, and they knew exactly what they vetted. And they knew exactly who Donald was, and he's from New York, and so and that is the United Nations, the New York aspect of it. You see what I'm saying? So now he's there, and then all of a sudden, he like I said, he's tweeting. I mean, and I think, and this is just just a thought I'm throwing out on the table. He was always active in politics anyway. He had the building, and his dad was in housing and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, he liked the idea of dealing with this political stuff. That's what he did. You know my point? And because he wasn't at the table, he'd be reading and looking at the paper while he's doing this stuff, and he tweets. You know,
Yeah,
so he just opened up his mouth. He wasn't afraid to talk. He was a
Right,
dog.
and here's my opinion on that. I believe that the very reason he won is because he addressed the people directly through social media.
Yeah.
And so he in a lack of a better explanation, he overpowered the news, the fake news media. He went directly to the people, and that was the smartest move anybody could take to win in such a corrupt administration that we all now know what happened.
And people
it's
gotta-
coming out, and we don't even know half of it.
Right, but you got to understand too. Look here, no man's an island. In that business there, he's probably got about 20 or 30 people sitting out there looking at all that news stuff, and then come up with a tweet.
Maybe
and he
so,
picks
yeah.
and he picks what he wants. There's nowhere in the world he can do the whole. I can't even. You can't even watch all the news at the same damn time. By the time you get through doing that, you couldn't do it.
Well, I'm sure he's got updates all the time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But he's president of the United States.
Yes.
He's CEO. The
He
buck
is.
stops there.
Yes.
He can pick whichever tweet he wants to do that day. And I got to say, hey,
For 5.
Yeah, you know what? I would do the same thing. I would address the people
you do it
directly.
now.
I wouldn't even give an interview to the news media
Yeah.
because he's got all these liberal news media outlets against him, and then he has Fox News, who is only half pro and half against. So he's got half a news media on his side versus endless liberal news
but
media
he's
is
tweeting.
against him.
Now remember, he's
so
just tweeting.
that's why,
You know,
absolutely.
there's the competition. You can't
Yes.
sell advertising just doing one side.
Yes. Well, how is CNN or MSNBC or ABC?
yeah.
How are they doing only one side and they're still selling ads? Quite a lot of them.
In fact, now check this out. Now Joy, Joy, that's on that's MSNBC, the African American woman.
I watch as little television
okay.
as possible.
But-
It's bad for my blood pressure.
But I do it because that's my golfing. That's my golfing. But Joy, her thing was, I had her here, but basically what I saw her, she has a 2-hour show
Right.
on Sunday morning. She's an African American woman, and in fact,
The one with
Reverend
like afro head, like curly.
right.
Curly C.
Al Sharpton used to be on the show. He had his own. He's not there anymore. So she took up the deal. But on this particular piece, with reference to Donna Brise, her thing was, hey, I'm going to be interviewing her next week. Because otherwise, she was yelling, saying, this is a bunch of crap. But so rather than do that piece, they said, well, I'll tell you what, do you want the job? So the deal was, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll wait till next week and get my facts a little bit more, and then I'll come. So I'm anxious to see how she's going to handle it, because she had a bunch of folks there, but they couldn't say nothing. She tried to get a Republican to come on and counter, agree with the D side,
Right.
but it didn't work out that way. And the other folks on the other side, in all due respect, the folks from Brooklyn were all on the show, and they were all saying, "Oh, I dare her." And then they had a listing of a letter. Oh yeah, this I dare her to be making that kind of a statement. And then said a list of Democrats that said that there's no way she shouldn't have done that kind of a deal. But they wouldn't give you any names. There was no names. Nobody wanted to get out there. And then there were some black representatives, and that were basically being interviewed and say, hey, she's had every right to control her own mind. And the vice chair of the Democratic Party, his name is Keith Ellison, who happens to be a Muslim, okay? Guess what he said? He said, hey, she has every right to reject the sin. And then you had the Mexican representative who was the chair. He was saying, well, we need to be focusing on our issues and these future elections, et cetera. So there's a divide there.
You can see who's on the inside of the criminal gang and who's on the outside.
Exactly.
And again,
so this is good stuff.
Yes, it is. But again, I want to say that in my dad's book, he explains it very well that corruption and bribery are the number one tool of a dictatorship government, and that's the direction the Democratic Party and the liberals are going. They're using corruption, they're using bribery, and you know, it is against the law, and it's violation of the law to profit selling 20% of the most important what's the word I'm looking for? Uranium that the United States owns to the enemies of freedom. To our enemy, the greatest enemy.
But what's worse than that is, you know, there's a lot of corrupt Republicans too. And corruption in politics are like, you know, like ham and eggs. I mean, and so the genius of America was that if you had a constitution and you just confined the government back to this narrow set of tasks, you automatically reduce the universe available for corruption because. You know, but the more government steps out with this program, every new program that goes beyond the Constitution is a whole new opportunity for corruption and graft. And so it's the saddest thing about a lot of the Republican leadership is they help grow the government beyond the Constitution as long as they're getting their piece, and then we're left with the Constitution bleeding and cut in 50 different places, and the whole corruption goes. But the root of the problem is that every time you grant the government a power, it creates the opportunity for corruption, and unless you limit government power, you're screwed, and we're screwed because all the constraints on government power in the Constitution have been whittled away. There's like almost nothing left.
And then by both sides.
Yeah,
that's the sad.
That's the sad part.
Both sides. Beforehand, you knew there was a distinction. Blah blah blah.
Yes.
And again, like I said, it was all based when we put those two sides together. All based again. That's when Lincoln did the piece. It was about race aspect of it, and then they blew his brain. I think had that not happened, I think we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it today this way. I'm just saying. I'm thinking.
In regards to what you mentioned, I was really unbelievably shocked to hear that the president, both Bushes, George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, they are standing against the current administration, who supposedly ran as a Republican. And George W. Bush, both Bushes, were Republicans, right? What are they doing in bed with the enemies, with the other side?
You know
right?
what they're doing?
What are they doing voting for the other side? I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves.
But let me tell you
At least they should have kept it secret in their own closet, right? Don't you think?
But let me tell you what they're doing.
Tell me.
They were president of the United States.
Right.
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Right.
I'm at this table.
Right.
I have some idea what's going on around me here. I'm not in that zoo. I mean, to me, when a person gets elected, I have to deal with it.
Right.
I remember I was on the Marine Corps. I was in there, and whoever the president is, that's my CEO. That was it. That's my. He tells me to move, I move. That's it. But my point is, I don't get involved in something that I'm not at the table in many ways. But now this stuff is opening up. I mean, you would never have known the CEO of a party would throw this information out in the media. But they're so gullible, they threw it out there to the public. So here we sit and try to say, oh my God, this is good stuff. I can't wait to get to the Powell's bookstore. I'm gonna have to take my sleep pack.
I couldn't wait for the next WikiLeaks.
But now you got a book. Oh, now you got a book. This is a good piece. This piece here, and right up front with you. And to me, it's not about race. I'm even throwing it out this way because I want to go to the next tier. No, I don't put the race stuff on the table. She was the chairman of the Democratic Party.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Now go with it that way.
Yes.
And somebody needs to go to jail.
Yeah.
And somebody will,
Well,
eventually.
maybe.
I'm sure you heard it, that
Maybe.
the wheels of justice move very slowly.
Maybe.
But you know what? They do move. Thank God they do move.
Yeah, but
You know?
but like James was saying, unfortunately they don't move in that environment. it's just a tap on their hand. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah.
let's see what's going to happen. But
It's
I
gonna
do
be
believe
good.
that.
It's good. But it's gonna work out. I think it's gonna work out, James. It's gonna be okay. I think you're gonna have a thriving partner. You're gonna have probably people sitting at your next meeting, just waiting in line, trying to get in to sign up to be a member of the Republican Party for the.
We can all dream.
You know what? It's so awesome to sit at a table, and I really love that we had a lady sitting right here, you know, black and white, or Mexican, or Hispanic, or whatever you're from, Russia, Romania, Ukraine, and we are in the United States of America, the greatest nation in the world that embraces every nationality. But you know what? Every immigrant that comes here, they need to learn English. They need to get a job. They need to not be a burden to this nation, but to contribute, to create, and to support themselves.
Okay. Well, look, this has been just great. Look, we have to do this again. We have to read the book, and then we'll bring back and have the same discussion. You'll have one to read, and then we'll be able to read Donna
Thank
Brazil's
you.
book, and then we'll have a discussion. That's fair?
That's fair.
Okay,
We'll
good.
see you again.
Well, what we're going to do then? Now we're going to just probably end the piece talking about Veterans Day, Veterans Week,
Yes.
and maybe talk about some of the other areas that events and whatever that's going to be happening here in the Portland metropolitan area. And I've got it right here in my hand. Events. We got the Veterans Day Parade, 43rd Annual Parade along Northeast Sandy Boulevard, 9:30 a.m. Let's see, Dignity Row will have a collection of tents, tables, and resources to support our veterans there at that particular parade after it's over with. We got Vancouver Veterans Day Parade, again, 31st Annual Veterans Parade at Fort Vancouver. Okay, 10 a.m. ceremony, 11 o'clock parade. So you can go down to Washington, right across the river there. A race to remember, Veterans Day Race, 2000. Fort Vancouver National Park. Race to Remember is a military nonprofit founded in Vancouver, Washington, 2009 by Claudia Cardenas after losing her fiance Jason Vineyard, a 20-year Army veteran stationed in Fort Vancouver, Washington at the time of his passing. So a race to remember. Harvest Gold, Neil Young tribute. Free concert admission, Old Liberty Theater, Ridgefield, Washington. Harvest Gold, a tribute to Neil Young with opening performance by Billy Wolf, a tribute to Bob Dylan. Remember old Bob Dylan?
Yes.
Tickets are available at eventbrite.com, eventbrite.com. Google it. All the information is okay. Good. Then I got enough. And then, by the way, we're going to have all this information on YouTube too. So when you Google it and look at the show, you'll be able to get all this stuff. Okay, attractions. Big Al's, free bowling to all veterans and active military at our Beaverton and Vancouver location. How about that? Big Al's, veterans and activity military. Okay, Oregon Zoo, the zoo. Free admission for military veterans and their families, plus discount in the store and food outlets. Wow, isn't that
That's
interesting?
awesome.
Gee whiz, I didn't want to go at one point in time, but now I think I might be able to go. See, U.S. National Park, Veterans Day weekend. The National Park Service invites all visitors to remember our veterans by visiting any National Park Service site for free on Veterans Day weekend. That's this weekend coming up.
Yep.
Visit nps.gov for more information and find a local park or attraction. Again, all this stuff will be posted on the YouTube, so make sure you check out the YouTube. B&B for Vets, Medford and nationwide. Free night stay at participating bed and breakfast location. So if you're looking at going to bed and breakfast, ask them whether or not, call first and see whether or not you can get a free night that night. Right. But you get the innkeep participation. There are all sorts of folks running around. But you can do that too. That's the thing, can be offer more free nights or whatever. But check out the bed and breakfast around the area, Portland, Washington, metropolitan area, okay? Veterans Appreciation, well, I guess all over Oregon. Veterans Appreciation Reception, Thursday, November the 9th. Free appetizer, beer, wine, tasting, and prize drawing. Join us as we recognize those who bravely serve our country, ensuring freedom for all. Oxford Suites at Jansen Beach. In fact, I'm going to be emceeing that deal.
Oh, yeah?
From 3:30 to 7 p.m. down at Jansen
That's
Beach.
next Saturday.
Yep. That's going to be there on. Let's see, need to RSVP by Monday, November the 6th, to Monica or Mary. So that's almost gone. But Jansen Beach, Oxford Suite. Okay. Get down there and do that piece. And then let's see, restaurant, McCormick and Schmidt. That's good. That's
Yes,
good eating.
a
over
very
there.
good restaurant,
And
yes.
Free lunch or dinner from a special menu with 10 choices. How about that? Wow. Okay, Chipotle, I guess that. Buy one, get one promo from 5 p.m. to close, BOGO. Denny's, free bill your own Grand Slam, 5 a.m. to noon. Okay, Friday, November the 10th. IHOP, free red, white, and blue pancakes from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, watch that piece, okay? Applebee's, free entree from their signature menu of 7 different choices. Saturday, November the 11th. The lines to get a table could be long since this is one of the most popular offers. Since 2008, they have served over 8.3 million meals to all who served.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That's awesome.
California Pizza Kitchen. Okay, Saturday, November the 11th, honoring members of the U.S. military, both past and present, with a free entree from a special Veterans Day menu. Menu includes 6 different pizza options, a full-size salad choices, and 3 different pasta dishes. Wow. Little Caesar's Pizza. A lot of pizza, okay? We're getting close. Free $5, hot in the red, lunch combo during lunch, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. only. Saturday, November the 11th. Wow. Famous Days. Gee whiz.
Oh, yes, that's a good place.
Outbreak Steakhouse. Wow. Free blooming onion and beverage. And 15% off a check. Red Lobster. Red Robin. Village Inn. BJ's Restaurant. I'm going quick, like, but go down to Google or YouTube, the show that we did, and this stuff will all be on there. Tells you when and where. Great Clips Services. Receive a free haircut that day. How about a haircut on Saturday for free? For non-veteran customers, purchase a service on Veterans Day and get a free haircut card to give to a veteran you know. How? So you can go in there and buy one. Got 2 minutes real quick, like sport clips, haircuts, wash, free car wash. Wow. Caddy car wash. Okay. Eco car wash. That's Saturday the 11th. Beaverton car wash. Beaverton. Okay. Minicky. 45% off any service. Wow. At this information. Wow. There's a lot of activities, folks. Please take advantage of that. That's a good way to take the kids out.
Yes,
It won't cost you any money. You take the kids out, take the family out, have a good deal. Make sure you tell them that Bruce sent you. But anyway, that
Thank
gives you an
you.
idea of what's
Thank
happening
you.
on that whole weekend. I think we've had quite a discussion. I think it's good. We talked about a little history. We talked about what are some of the concerns with the folks and whatever. And I would say participate. You got to vote this time around. Get out and vote and forget all this garbage that you hear.
Yes.
Stay focused. Listen to what's being said. Call the guy up, whoever's running for office. Ask them, what do you represent? Blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely.
And then you vote. Don't just
Yes.
take it off the media. Don't just look at too much TV.
Yes.
Don't look at, and I'll be straight up, don't look at CNN and Fox. Just go on and try to get the information as best you can.
Yes.
Okay? You have
But
one-
mostly important, talk to everybody you can about the privilege of freedom.
Yes.
About the privilege of living in the greatest nation in the world, the United States of
Well, I'm going to give him
America.
your phone number.
Give him, I'll talk to him. I will.
Yeah, you can look at this book on the show, on the history show. Just look at, you can see him and I've interviewed him. He basically interviewed the show, or you can Google the show, Google the book, and get one and read it. So if
Absolutely.
you don't have to read it, you can just go on and read it through the show here. He does a good job. And then my dear friend James, like I said, you'll be waiting. You'll be having all sorts of people just knocking on the door. And I take it you have any problems? Anybody wanting to join the party?
Well, we need more members all the time.
Is there a phone number that they can reach you real quick, like?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, good,
Go to our
okay.
website, multnomahgop.org.
Multnomah.org. Okay, fine. We're at the end of the deal. Again, happy Veterans Day. Get out and do your job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next week.